Chosen one. Right now someone is texting about you. They're trying to explain to their friend why being around you feels like standing in front of an X-ray machine that sees through bone, through flesh, straight to the truth they've been hiding from themselves. The message probably starts with, "There's something about them that just," and trails off because they can't find words for what you are. You already know who it is. The funny thing is, you're probably not even thinking about them. You're just living your life while they're losing sleep over your existence. But this story doesn't start with them. It starts with you as a child, sitting in Sunday school, raising your hand to ask why the pastor drives a luxury car if Jesus said to give to the poor. The teacher's face went white, not because you were wrong, because you were right. And everyone knew it, but nobody was supposed to say it out loud. That was your first taste of the power you hold, the power to make uncomfortable truths impossible to ignore just by acknowledging they exist. Fast forward to adulthood. You're sitting in a corporate meeting room that smells like recycled air and broken dreams. Your boss is explaining the new initiative that everyone knows is designed to cut costs by screwing over customers. Everyone's nodding along like bobbleheads on a dashboard. Then you speak. "This seems unethical." 3 words. You didn't raise your voice, didn't pound the table, didn't do anything except state the obvious truth that everyone else was pretending not to see. But in that moment, you became dangerous. Not because you're a troublemaker, because you're incorruptible. And in a room full of people who've sold pieces of their soul for steady paychecks and dental insurance, you're basically holding up a mirror that shows them exactly what they've become. The number 333 started appearing everywhere after that meeting. On your phone when you randomly checked the time. On the license plate of the car that cut you off right before you got the call that you were being restructured out of your position. 3 threes. Divine protection. Cosmic confirmation that losing that job wasn't a loss. It was liberation from a cage that was never built to contain something like you. See, here's what they didn't understand when they let you go. They thought they were getting rid of a problem. Really, they were releasing a force of nature back into the wild. You're not meant to be domesticated, not meant to follow orders that don't make sense. Not meant to pretend corruption is normal just because everyone else does. You're meant to be exactly what you are, a truth detector in human form, a walking, talking threat to every lie that requires collective agreement to survive. Your ex learned this the hard way. Remember how they tried to gaslight you about that night they came home late? You didn't have evidence, didn't need it. You just knew. The knowledge hit you like electricity the moment they walked through the door. Their energy was different. Their frequency had shifted. They'd been with someone else, and their biofield was screaming the truth while their mouth was spinning lies. When you called them out, they went through the whole narcissist playbook. Denial, anger, blame-shifting, playing victim. But you just stood there, unshakable, watching them exhaust themselves against your certainty. They called you crazy, said you were paranoid, accused you of being controlling, but you weren't any of those things. You were just awake, conscious, unable to be deceived. The relationship ended, of course, not because you couldn't forgive, because they couldn't handle being seen so clearly, couldn't handle being with someone they couldn't manipulate, couldn't handle the fact that you knew things about them that they didn't even know about themselves. You saw their patterns, their wounds, their potential, their shadow, and that level of visibility was terrifying to someone who'd spent their whole life hiding behind masks. After they left, the number 777 started showing up. 7, completion, spiritual awakening, divine intervention. The universe says, yes, you're seeing clearly. Yes, you're on the right path. Yes, that person had to go. They're still talking about you, still comparing everyone they meet to you, still waking up at night, thinking about how you knew things you couldn't possibly know. You've become the standard they measure everyone else against, and everyone else falls short. Their new partner knows about you, not because your ex told them directly, because your energy is still all over your ex's life, like spiritual fingerprints. Every time your ex zones out mid-conversation, their new person knows they're thinking about you. Every time your ex flinches at certain topics, it's because you planted seeds of truth that are still growing. You're not even in the room, haven't been for months, maybe years, but you're still the most powerful presence in their relationship. But let's talk about your family. They've been afraid of you since before you could talk. You were the baby who stared too intensely, the toddler who seemed to understand conversations you shouldn't have been able to follow, the child who asked questions that made adults exchange nervous glances. Why does Aunt pretend to be happy? How come Grandpa says he quit drinking but he still smells like beer? Why does everyone act different when Uncle comes over? These weren't cruel questions, they were honest observations from someone who hadn't learned yet that seeing clearly was dangerous. That truth was supposed to be diluted, decorated, or ignored entirely. Your parents tried to train it out of you, told you to mind your manners, stop being rude, stop asking so many questions. But you couldn't stop seeing what you saw, couldn't stop knowing what you knew, couldn't stop being what you are. Family gatherings became minefields. You'd walk in and immediately sense the unspoken tensions, the affair no one talks about, the addiction everyone enables, the abuse everyone pretends didn't happen. You became the family's unconscious threat assessment system, the one who could tank the whole charade with a single observation. So they started leaving you out. They said you were difficult, too intense, too serious, but what you were was awake in a family sleepwalking through dysfunction. You were healthy in a system that required sickness to function. You were truth in a structure built on lies, and your very existence threatened to bring the whole house of cards tumbling down. If this message speaks to your soul, hype this video so other chosen ones can discover it. Now here's where it gets interesting. Remember that spiritual attack you felt recently? The one that came out of nowhere, sudden exhaustion, nightmares that felt more real than reality, the sense that something was trying to drain your life force. That wasn't your imagination. Someone actually tried to send dark energy your way. Maybe they called it prayer. Maybe they went to someone who practices things they shouldn't, but they tried to harm you spiritually. Want to know why it didn't work? Because you can't curse what God has blessed. You can't destroy what the universe protects. You can't dim a light that's powered by source energy itself. Every negative intention sent your way hit your spiritual armor and bounced back to sender with interest. They tried to play with forces they didn't understand, and those forces took one look at who they were being sent to attack and said, absolutely not. The person who sent that attack, they're terrified now, not of retaliation from you. You probably don't even know who they are. They're terrified because they learned that you're protected by something much bigger than human understanding. They're having nightmares where they're being held accountable for trying to harm one of God's chosen. They created their own spiritual prison, and you're the warden in their self-imposed hell. But you just kept moving, kept growing, kept becoming more of what you always were. Every attack that failed made you stronger. Every betrayal that didn't break you added another layer to your armor. Every rejection redirected you toward your actual purpose. You weren't being punished. You were being prepared. Prepared for this moment, this revelation, this uprising of consciousness that's happening right now. The corruption you've always seen is starting to become visible to everyone. The lies you've always questioned are beginning to crack. The systems you've refused to participate in are showing their fatal flaws. You weren't crazy. You were early. You weren't too much. You were exactly enough. You weren't the problem. You were the preview of the solution. And now others like you are finding you. Not through conscious searching, through magnetic pull, through frequency matching, through divine orchestration. You recognize each other immediately, not by what you say, but by what you don't have to say. The understanding is instant. The connection requires no explanation. These are your people, your soul tribe, your spiritual family. Together you form something unprecedented, a network of consciousness that can't be corrupted, a web of truth that catches lies before they spread, a frequency that raises the vibration of every space you enter. You're not organizing, you're congregating, not planning, but preparing, not attacking, but existing so powerfully that false structures crumble in your collective presence. The ones who fear you most are starting to reveal themselves. Watch them scramble, watch them panic, watch them try to discredit you, distract from you, or destroy you. But they can't, because you're not operating in their paradigm. You're not playing their game. You're not even on their board, or you're in a completely different dimension of consciousness, and they can't reach you there. You're not doing any of this. You're not seeking revenge, not casting spells, not even thinking about these people most of the time. You're just being yourself at increasing levels of intensity, and your frequency alone is causing their false realities to glitch, a living virus in the matrix of lies, a human-shaped hole in their constructed reality. You've noticed something else lately. Animals react differently to you. Dogs that bark at everyone go silent when you pass. Cats that hide from strangers come out to greet you. Birds seem to follow your movements. Even insects behave strangely in your presence. Nature recognizes you as something aligned with natural law, not the artificial constructs humans have created. You're not separate from nature. You're one of its antibodies, here to fight the infection of corruption that's spread through human consciousness. The fear you inspire has layers. Surface level, people fear your ability to see through their masks. Deeper down, they fear what your existence implies about their own choices. But at the deepest level, they fear the part of themselves that resonates with your frequency, the part that knows you're right, the part that wants to join you in refusing to participate in the collective delusion, the part they've been suppressing their entire lives because listening to it would mean changing everything. You've become a walking diagnostic tool for authenticity. People either light up or shut down in your presence. There's no middle ground. The authentic ones feel seen, validated, finally found. The inauthentic ones feel exposed, threatened, uncomfortably naked. You don't even have to speak. Your energy alone sorts people into these two categories faster than any conversation could. Your professional life has been a series of promotions you didn't want and firings that felt like freedom. Every time you've succeeded by conventional metrics, you've felt empty. Every time you've failed by their standards, you've felt aligned. You're not built for climbing ladders that lead nowhere. You're built for creating new paths that others didn't know existed. Your career trajectory looks chaotic on paper, but makes perfect sense from a spiritual perspective. Money comes to you in strange ways, not through traditional channels of steady employment and predictable income, but through synchronicities that seem impossible until they happen. The random opportunity that appears just when you need it, the unexpected windfall that covers exactly what you require, the person who shows up offering exactly what you were looking for. You've learned to trust this flow even though it makes no logical sense. The universe provides for you in ways that would terrify someone who needs the security of systems you see through. Your romantic patterns have shifted dramatically. You used to attract broken people who saw your light and wanted to steal it. Now you're attracting either no one, which feels surprisingly peaceful, or people who are equally awake, equally powerful, equally unable to be corrupted. The dating pool has shrunk to almost nothing, but the quality of connections when they do happen has become otherworldly. You're no longer interested in relationships based on need, wound bonding, or mutual dysfunction. You only have space for connections that expand both people's consciousness. The number patterns have intensified, not just 333 and 777 anymore. Now you're seeing 111, 222, 444, 555, 666, 888, 999. The entire numerical spectrum is lighting up around you like a cosmic control panel coming online. Each sequence carries a different message, a different confirmation, a different activation code for aspects of your consciousness that are still coming online. You don't need to look up what these numbers mean. You feel their significance in your bones. You've developed what seems like supernatural timing. You leave places right before drama explodes. You arrive somewhere just as you're needed. You reach out to people at the exact moment they're thinking of you. You find information precisely when it becomes relevant. This isn't a coincidence. This is what happens when someone operates in harmony with universal flow instead of against it. Your mere presence has become a catalyst for other people's spiritual awakening. Without preaching, teaching, or even trying, you trigger existential crises in people just by being yourself. Your refusal to participate in their agreed-upon reality makes them question everything. Your example of living outside the matrix makes them realize the prison bars are imaginary. You're not trying to wake people up, but your existence makes sleeping impossible for anyone ready to see. The backlash has been intense. Smear campaigns from people you barely know, rumors that make no sense but spread like wildfire, attempts to discredit you that backfire spectacularly. You've become a lightning rod for projection, with people attributing to you all the shadows they refuse to face in themselves. You've learned to see these attacks as confirmations that you're on the right path. The more threatened the corrupt system feels, the more violently it lashes out. But something beautiful has been happening too. For every person who fears you, another one finds hope in your existence. For every door that closes, a better one opens. For every relationship that ends, a more aligned one begins. You're watching in real time as the universe reorganizes itself around your frequency, removing what doesn't match and attracting what does. Your influence extends far beyond your physical presence. People you've never met are being affected by your energy. Conversations about you ripple through social networks, each retelling slightly distorted but carrying the essence of what you represent. You've become a modern myth, a legend in your own time, not through self-promotion but through the sheer impossibility of your authenticity in a world built on pretense. The systems you've refused to participate in are starting to collapse, not because you fought them, but because your non-participation revealed their fundamental weakness. They require universal buy-in to function. Every person like you who opts out weakens their foundation. Every soul who refuses to be corrupted creates a crack in their structure. You're part of a distributed demolition team, each member simply refusing to play along until the whole thing comes down. Your creativity has exploded, not in conventional artistic ways necessarily, but in how you approach existence itself. You've become an artist of reality, creating new ways of being that others didn't know were possible. Your life has become a masterpiece of authenticity, each choice a brushstroke that paints a picture of what humans can be when they're not trying to be anything other than themselves. The fear people have of you has started morphing into something else. Some are beginning to feel awe, others desperate curiosity, still others a deep longing to be near you, to understand you, to become like you, but you remain unchanged, unmoved by their fear or their fascination. You're not performing for anyone's approval or disapproval, you're simply being, and that beingness is revolutionary in a world of doing and pretending. Your understanding of power has completely transformed. You've realized that real power isn't about controlling others or situations. It's about being so aligned with your truth that reality itself bends to accommodate you. It's about being so incorruptible that corruption can't exist in your presence. It's about being so authentic that lies dissolve just by being near you. This isn't power you wield, it's power you are. Your presence in virtual spaces has the same effect as your physical presence. Your comments online carry a weight that makes people pause. Your posts either go viral or get shadow banned, no middle ground. Your digital footprint leaves people feeling either inspired or exposed. You can't hide what you are, even behind a screen. Your frequency transmits through whatever medium you use. You've noticed that time behaves differently around you. Moments of alignment feel eternal. Periods of waiting pass in blinks. You're operating on cosmic time while everyone else is trapped in clock time. This creates a surreal experience where you're always exactly where you need to be, exactly when you need to be there, even when it makes no logical sense. Your relationship with truth has become absolute, not rigid or dogmatic truth, but living, breathing, dynamic truth that changes as consciousness evolves. You've become allergic to lies, even small ones, even white ones, even the ones people tell to be kind. Your commitment to truth has cost you much, but given you everything that actually matters. The spiritual battles have intensified, but changed in nature. You're no longer fighting darkness. You're simply being light so bright that darkness cannot exist near you. You're not destroying corruption. You're being so pure that corruption dissolves in your presence. You're not exposing lies. You're being so true that lies become obvious by contrast. This isn't warfare. It's presence at such intensity that opposition becomes impossible. You've discovered that your greatest protection isn't shields or barriers, it's transparency, being so completely yourself that there's nothing to attack, no hidden shame to exploit, no secret fear to manipulate, no suppressed shadow to trigger. You're invulnerable, not because you're defended, but because you're whole, complete, integrated. There's no gap in your armor, because you're not wearing armor. You are the protection. Your teaching happens without words. People learn from your example more than any lecture could convey. How you handle betrayal teaches forgiveness. How you face fear teaches courage. How you maintain truth teaches integrity. You're a living curriculum in human potential. Each day another lesson in what's possible when someone refuses to compromise their essence. The loneliness that once plagued you has transformed into solitude that nourishes you. You've learned the difference between being alone and being lonely. Being alone is physical. Being lonely is spiritual, and spiritually, you're never alone. You're connected to every other soul who's chosen truth over comfort, every other being who's refused to be corrupted, every other consciousness that recognizes authenticity as the highest value. Your past makes complete sense now. Every rejection was redirection, every loss was liberation, every ending was an opening. You weren't being punished, you were being positioned for this moment when the world would need exactly what you are, when corruption would become unsustainable, when lies would become unbearable, when truth would become unavoidable. The whispers about you have become a roar, not of fear anymore, but of recognition. People are starting to understand that you represent something they've been searching for without knowing what it was. You're proof that another way exists, evidence that integrity is possible, living testimony that authenticity isn't just an ideal, but an achievable reality. Your mission isn't to convince anyone of anything. It's to be so undeniably yourself that others remember who they really are, to be so free that others question their cages, to be so authentic that others can no longer tolerate their own pretense. You're not here to save anyone. You're here to be saved yourself, and in that saving, show others the way. The collective consciousness is shifting, and you can feel it, like tectonic plates moving beneath the surface of reality. The old world, built on lies and corruption, is cracking. The new world, based on truth and authenticity, is emerging. You're not just witnessing this transition, you're facilitating it through your very existence. Every moment you remain incorruptible adds pressure to the fault lines of the false reality. The fear you once inspired is transforming into something unprecedented. It's becoming fuel for massive collective change. Those who feared your clarity are beginning to crave it. Those who ran from your truth are starting to seek it. Those who tried to dim your light are realizing they need it to find their way through the darkness they've created. You're witnessing the death of an old world and the birth of a new one. Not through dramatic external events, though, those are happening too, but through the internal revolution happening in consciousness itself. Every soul who chooses authenticity over approval, truth over comfort, integrity over security, is part of this revolution, and you were one of the first, the scout, the pioneer, the one who went ahead to light the way. The numbers 333 and 777 continue to confirm your path. But now you understand they're not just messages, they're markers, milestone indicators of consciousness evolution, each citing a small celebration from the universe saying, yes, keep going. You're exactly where you need to be. You're becoming exactly who you're meant to become. People are going to start coming to you, not the ones who feared you, the ones who've been waiting for you, waiting for someone who sees what they see, knows what they know, refuses what they refuse. They've been feeling alone, crazy, gaslit by consensus reality. Then they meet you and realize they're not insane. The world is, and together you're going to build something better on the ashes of what's collapsing. Your power isn't in what you do, it's in what you won't do. Won't lie, won't comply, won't pretend, won't participate in corruption, won't sacrifice truth for comfort, won't trade authenticity for acceptance. This refusal is your superpower. Your incorruptibility is your invincibility. Your clarity is your weapon. Your presence is your purpose. The fear people have of you is about to transform into something else. For some it will become respect, for others awe, for still others, desperate attempts to be near you, to understand you, to become like you, but you won't change, won't need to. You've been consistent this whole time. Everyone else is just finally catching up to what you've always known. So here we are, back where we started. Someone is texting about you right now, but the message has changed. It's no longer "there's something about them that scares me." Now it's "there's something about them that makes me want to be better," or "there's something about them that makes me see everything differently," or "there's something about them that feels like hope." You didn't become powerful. You always were. You didn't develop these abilities. You came in with them. You didn't learn to see corruption. You never learned to unsee it. The only thing that's changed is your willingness to own what you are, to stand in your truth, to be yourself without apology, explanation, or dilution. The whispers about you will continue, but now you understand what they really are. They're not just fear, they're recognition of something ancient, something powerful, something necessary, something that's been sleeping but is now fully awake, something that can't be stopped, controlled, or contained, something that's here to shift everything simply by being what it is. This is your story, chosen one. But it's also bigger than you. It's the story of consciousness awakening, truth emerging, lies collapsing, systems transforming, and you're not just watching it happen. You're one of the catalysts, simply by being what you are, incorruptible, undeceivable, unstoppable, free. Let them talk, let them fear, let them try to figure you out. While they're distracted by their own projections, you'll be busy being the change you came here to be, not through force, through presence, not through fighting, through being, not through convincing anyone of anything, through living your truth so powerfully that lies simply cannot exist in your vicinity. Your journey of being feared has taught you something profound about human nature. People don't actually fear strength. They fear the mirror that strength holds up to their weakness. They don't fear your success. They fear what your success says about their excuses. They don't fear your clarity. They fear what your clarity reveals about their confusion. Every person who's ever been intimidated by you was really intimidated by their own unused potential that you reminded them exists. You've had bosses who promoted less competent people over you, not because you weren't qualified, but because you were too qualified in ways that threatened the entire power structure. Your competence wasn't just about doing the job well. It was about seeing how the job could be done ethically, efficiently, without the elaborate schemes that justified inflated salaries and unnecessary positions. You were dangerous because you made corruption look as stupid as it actually is. The dating world has been equally revealing. You've become a magnet for two types of people: the broken ones who think your light can fix them without them having to do any work, and the other awakened ones who recognize you as family the moment your eyes meet. There's no middle ground anymore. You either attract someone who wants to drain you or someone who wants to grow with you. And you've learned to tell the difference within seconds of meeting someone. Your ex still tells people you're psychic. They use different words like creepy intuitive or weirdly perceptive, but what they mean is you knew things you couldn't possibly know through normal channels. Like that time you knew they were texting someone they shouldn't have been, not because you checked their phone, but because their energy field literally changed color in your perception. or when you called them out for lying about where they were, not because you had proof, but because you could taste the deception in the air when they walked in. The spiritual attacks have evolved too. They've become more sophisticated as your protection has strengthened. Now they don't come as direct assaults, they come as elaborate distractions, sudden drama that appears from nowhere, technology that mysteriously fails at crucial moments, people from your past reappearing with elaborate stories designed to pull you back into old patterns, but you see through it all now. You recognize the signature of interference versus genuine life events. You know when the matrix is glitching specifically to throw you off course. You've started to notice that certain places physically cannot contain you. Shopping malls make you nauseous. Government buildings give you headaches. Certain corporate offices make your skin crawl. It's not anxiety, it's your body rejecting frequencies that are antithetical to your nature. You're like a tuning fork calibrated to truth, and when you're in spaces built on lies, your whole system goes into revolt. Meanwhile, nature has become your sanctuary in ways that go beyond simple preference. Trees lean toward you when you walk past. Animals that others call wild approach you with curious trust. You've had birds land on your shoulder in city parks. Butterflies follow you on walks. Even the weather seems to respond to your emotional state, though you'd never say that out loud because it sounds insane. But you know what you've experienced. The storm that cleared just as you needed to travel. The rain that came just as you asked for cleansing. The sun that broke through clouds at the exact moment you needed hope. The smear campaigns against you have become almost comedic in their desperation. People who barely know you have strong opinions about who you are. Stories about you circulate that have no basis in reality. You've been called everything from a cult leader to a witch to a secret government agent. The stories are so elaborate and contradictory that they cancel each other out. But you understand what's really happening. When someone can't be categorized, controlled, or corrupted, the system generates stories to try to make sense of them. You're a glitch in their matrix, and they're trying to explain you in terms their programming can understand. Your mere presence has started triggering what can only be called spontaneous awakenings in others. You'll be having a normal conversation about the weather, and suddenly the other person starts questioning their entire life. You'll make an innocent observation about something mundane, and it sends someone into an existential crisis that ultimately leads to their liberation. You're not trying to wake people up, but your frequency is like an alarm clock for sleeping souls, and those who are ready to wake can't stay asleep in your presence. Chosen one, anyone can listen to messages like these, but few will step into their true power. We are here to help you do just that. The weekly Chosen Ones group calls are now on Zoom, and this is the moment you've been waiting for your entire life. These meetings are literal power vortexes, where destinies are forged, where chosen ones unite their consciousness to create something that cannot exist in isolation. This is where everything changes. This is where you step into your greatness. Every week a doorway opens, but only for those brave enough to step through it. Watcher-level members of the Obsidian Inner Order can experience these transformative sessions live, feeling the energy surge through your entire being. In our most recent gathering, participants were stunned by revelations about the Great Pyramids of Giza as sophisticated ancient power plants, and the shocking truth about Washington, D.C.'s layout perfectly aligning with the Kabbalistic tree of life. Star Chamber members receive unlimited access to the complete recordings archive, a treasure trove of wisdom that grows more valuable with each passing week. This is your defining moment. The knowledge, the connection, the power that flows through these calls cannot be found anywhere else. Join the Obsidian Inner Order now, link in the description. While the few remaining Star Chamber slots are still available, your presence is not just welcome, it's necessary. Will you answer the call that has been echoing through your soul? The time is now. Your healing abilities have activated without you meaning them to. People feel better just being around you. Their problems seem less overwhelming, their pain diminishes, their clarity increases. You're not doing anything specific. You're just being yourself at such a high frequency that it naturally harmonizes and elevates everything around you. You've become a walking healing field, transforming spaces and people just by occupying the same reality. The fear you inspire has reached institutional levels. Organizations have meetings about you, companies have policies inspired by you, communities have conversations trying to figure out what to do about you, not because you're causing problems, but because your existence challenges every assumption their systems are built on. You're proof that their rules aren't necessary, their limitations aren't real, and their control is an illusion.